Hey there, Wildcat football fans. Welcome back. Another LC Coaches Show coming at you with LC football head coach Justin Charles. I'm Brad Welburn. Glad you decided to join us once again this week. As we get right into it, we got plenty to talk about. A tough game last week, another tough one coming up this week, and we'll get into all some of the details. Maybe not all of them, but some of the details over the next few minutes. Coach, obviously, we want a little recap of last week. And I guess my first question would be, does a game like that, when it comes down to the end, I mean, they kick a last-second field goal to essentially win the game, does that, I don't want to say use the word hurt, but does it feel a little bit different than maybe the week before where it's kind of one-sided and that sort of stuff? Does it, I mean, feel a little bit worse or about the same, or what's the? Well,
a loss is a loss for us. The best thing that we had that came out of the previous game was that those last two quarters our kids play hard, and but we still got the loss, and like I told them earlier, we're not looking for any moral victories. We're looking for true victories. But our kids we're still fighting, and the thing that I love most about our kids is when we came out to practice on Tuesday, it was a whole different ball game. They weren't worried about that loss anymore. It just made them a little bit more hungry. So that was the biggest thing that.
So moving on.
Yeah, we moved on. Moved on from it.
We'll talk a little bit about the game as a whole. I mean, we kind of talked after the game as well that it was really a tale of two halves. I mean, a lot of times football games play out that way, but it was certainly that for us. Southwestern was kind of in control of the first half, but then something changed at halftime. I think you guys made some adjustments, especially on defense, and came out, dominated the third quarter, took the lead early in the fourth, but a couple turnovers there in the fourth quarter kind of turned the momentum back to them, and they were able to take the victory.
Right. The start of the game, our kids missed a lot of opportunities. We had a couple missed interceptions right there in that first quarter. Really a drop touchdown pass that we should have had, which would completely turn the tide of the game. Our young men came out, didn't really have the energy that the other squad had. Southwestern, hats off to them. They came out and they were very prepared. We didn't do our assignments and discipline on one side of the ball on defense. As far as playing the option team, you have to be assignment football, and we didn't complete our task. So we definitely got beat in that first half, and we went through in halftime, went in there and talked to our young men, made a few adjustments, made sure they understood their assignment still. And I think when we came out in that third quarter, we were more focused on what we had to get done because it was our home field and we had to defend it. So we came out in the third quarter, really did our job on both sides of the ball. Offense really had the ball moving, scored 2 touchdowns right there, put us back in the football game. Defense made a lot of stops right there, and special teams handled their job. But then we got in the fourth quarter, especially the second half of the fourth quarter, we made some more mistakes. Yeah. Offensively, we had 2 turnovers, and then special teams, we had a turnover right there as well. And those things just kind of crumbled right there. When a close game, you can't make those mistakes against a good football team, against a bad football team. So Southwestern was a good football team that came out, and they just stayed the course and stayed there, did their task, and so and we didn't do that.
Yeah. Well, you bring up special teams, and like we haven't really talked about it a whole lot through the first 4 or 5 weeks of our show here, but special teams, I mean, the fumble on the kickoff, that's going to be something that kind of sticks out because it led immediately to a touchdown. They took the lead and all that sort of stuff. But on the other side of that, you got to be happy with what you saw from Curtis during the game. 2 43-yard field goals, one at the end of the first half, one to give us the lead in the fourth quarter. I mean that's got to be big for not only you as a coach to be able to send him out there, but for him and his confidence, moving forward.
Oh yeah, Curtis is a kid that he's one of those kickers that you love because he's one of those guys that, hey, if he makes a 50-yard field goal, it doesn't matter. He's still going to come back and kick the extra point and be fine. Or if he misses it, he's going to be all right. Yeah. He's one of those guys that he's going to be the same even-keel type young man. But we have full confidence in Curtis. He's a great kicker, great young man off the field, and that's the thing with him. He does what's right off the field, and that leads to what's on the field being what we need. And so that's why we have full confidence in Curtis.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move forward to this week. You got another tough opponent, Sol Ross, coming in for, crazily enough, our third home game in September, but the last one for about a month.
Right.
So it's kind of a weird schedule that way. But Sol Ross is going to be here Saturday night, 7 o'clock at Wildcat Stadium, and they are one of the programs in the ASC that's really on the upswing, certainly the past couple years. They've got an All-American defensive end. They've got all-conference type quarterback there as well. So one of the teams that you definitely can't sleep on.
Right. And last year was the first year that Sul Ross had beaten us in 16 years, I want to say. It was a while, but it was coming. Those guys have been well prepared. Their coaching staff is great. I know those guys personally, and they do a great job coaching up and preparing those guys day in and day out. And right now they're playing with a lot of confidence, and that's hard. That's a tough opponent when you're playing against confidence and momentum and just preparation, which their coaching staff does daily. They're a great football team, and they're big, physical, and but we feel we match up pretty well with them as far as what their style of offense is. They're a pro-style offense, and their defense is very physical. They're a violent type defense. They're going to be physical with you with their hands and with their bodies, and they're going to hit you hard. So.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about their quarterback. We got a chance to see him in person last year out at Alpine. One of those guys that's super athletic, can throw it and run it at the drop of a hat, if you will. And I know as a former defensive coordinator, those kind of quarterbacks are sometimes a nightmare for you.
Yeah, those are the hardest guys to prepare for because you stop what they like to do best, and next thing you know, they can do something even better.
Right.
And James, he's a great quarterback. He's been in this conference for 3-4 years now. He's well versed on what he needs to get done, and he doesn't try to force things. And so what he does is does exactly what he's coached to do. He makes a simple throw, and then he has a really good receiver out there by the name of Byron Jones, number one, who is he's a burner, very quick. He's made a lot of great catches in this conference. I think he may be one of the best receivers in the conference, if not the best. And so we're going to be prepared for these guys. We know what they have, but the quarterback, man, he can do some things with his feet, his arm, and everything in between there.
Right. You talk about good receivers in the conference. Kind of want to end with this as well because this past week. Shed, who he's pretty good in his own right? He was able to pass some pretty impressive names on the LC all-time receiving list in terms of yards, at least. Darnell Williams and Demario Parker. So I mean, Shed's one of those guys that if you get him going, he can really sort of take off. And last week, he seems like at least he's kind of getting going. Yeah,
he's kind of getting going. He's one of those guys that. Man, he's a coach's coach, man. He just comes out there and he works. He gives his all every single day, and I'm proud of Shed. His season's not over with. I'm glad that he passed up those numbers and surpassed those guys because those are great names. Demario Parker, Darnell Williams, those are legends around here, and so that just tells you where Shed stands within this team. But he's a team player. More importantly, he's willing to sacrifice himself, sacrifice a rep. Just for the team's sake, and it's not about himself. He's not out there screaming for the ball 50 times a game. He's just doing his job, and when his number's called, he catches it and gets upfield.
If you had 21 other like him, you'd be a pretty good
We'd be all right.
All right, Coach. Well, appreciate your time as always. Remember, folks, home game this week, Sul Ross, 7 o'clock at Wildcat Stadium. You can just come out and hang out all day. We got soccer going on in the early part of the day. You can watch the football game afterwards. Links for the live stream and audio will be on our website, www.lcwildcats.net. Rich Dupree, Doug Gann, Al Quartermont on 104.3 The Bridge. You can listen to them. You can watch us. You can do all the things. You can follow us on Twitter. We're going to be everywhere. You're going to be able to find the game if you want it. So be sure to check it out. Coach, thanks again as always. Always a pleasure to talk to you. I'm Brad Welburn. We'll see you next week.